Hi, welcome back to my channel. Wrong words. Hi, thank you for visiting my channel again. If you're new here, my name is Miriam. I'm an intuitive. Um, there's lots of different ways that other people can call me stuff and whatnot, but that's just easier. I usually go on a whole list of stuff. But for whatever reason, you're gonna be hearing stuff out of me, okay? And it's gonna make sense to you. Oh, baby, I just changed my shirt today and unbraided my braids to make myself look presentable. Not necessarily for this, but for an interview I have later. For the people who are showing up for the interviews. For some reason, I'm starting off with that exactly as opposed to saying it later. So even if you only see this far into it, for some reason, you feel connected to that, to be interviewed to tell your story. That's what I'm being called to do. So that's what I'm doing. I'm interviewing people, and I've got lots of interest, which is nice. And when I say lots, like even two people's lots for me, because I'm like having to do it. But I have like 12 people currently that we're scheduling out and getting interviews done today. Should be the first interview, as long as it's meant to. There are people who will, and so to let you know, you'll schedule the interview and then sometimes it just won't work out. Like your life will happen and all of a sudden you just can't do it on that day, and I just want to let that reassure you that you don't need me. You don't need me to tell your story. So yes, I'm here to help people take a step into telling their story, to see how they receive it. Hercules. That's my dog Hercules. He licks a lot. A lot. And he don't listen to nobody. The only person he ever listens to is me. Light goes off. He literally listens to only me. If he's outside and running, or if somebody else tells him, "Hey, come back over here," he don't listen. But if it's me, he listens ASAP. He's one of those dogs that I was like, he knows sign language and all that. But lately he's been licking. He's an old man now, and so he just licks his mouth. And oftentimes that can be a distraction from what I'm trying to say, or what I'm trying to do, or who I'm trying to listen to. And I feel like throughout, there has been a lot of noise in general that takes away from all the things that you want to pay attention to, including telling your story. And we hear it all the time that there's always going to be a reason why not to do something, a reason to not do something. But allowing it to fully stop you has been something of a slap in the face. Because you are somebody who feels it deep down that you're supposed to share your story. Um, and it's not a slap in the face to the universe or to me. It's to yourself. There's a song, "My Ego Dies at the End" by, gosh, why don't Jensen something. I love that song. It's a good song. Damn, and just like that, I lost the reference to the lyric. I'll have to look it up. Throat chakra healing. Healed. Mm-mm-mm. Oh, if I don't write about it, was it really worth it? And for her, she writes about it. Some people aren't writers. I personally like to do voice to text, and then I tell Grammarly to make it proper grammar wise, like putting the semicolons and stuff. I'm dyslexic. I literally have less of an ability to mess around with these two-dimensional letters on these screens and on these like especially typing. I can write if I'm writing physically, awesome, but then I get into a flow state and I'm writing so much that my hand starts to hurt. Um, and so oftentimes recording things or doing voice to text is the easiest option for me. And for such a long time, it was like I wasn't allowed to do things easily because then that means I didn't really earn it. Like I always had to have gone through a struggle in order to actually feel like I deserve a reward. I don't really think that that's something that was on purpose instilled in me specifically, but it is something that is instilled in a lot of society. What is our worth? And a lot of our worth equates to the money in our bank account or what that we drive. And I was speaking to my partner about how people steal for money or steal for food. And it's so funny because the way that my partner's brain works is just, how are you so high vibes just by not even practicing? It's frustrating. But I'm thankful. I'm so thankful because there's a lot to learn. But how the system has perverted things, the way that humans pervert things, we often pervert things, we can't help it, or exploit is what I'll say. We are exploitative beings sometimes. Our egos are, especially if we're not being selfless or selfish. But it's so twisted and perverted now that people steal for money to get food, to get the things that they need. They don't just steal the thing. Like our brains have become so dependent on a cash dollar or a little number that says this. Like that's something that's been developing over time, which is this is the system, this is the numbers, these are the things, and we pay so much attention to numbers. And as a numerologist, it's great to know like numbers are there and all around, and I can read your bank account right now and tell you what's going on in your life. I mean, I would just need the numbers though. I don't need to see if you're over at whatever shops and sites. I could just literally look at the balances. Um, and knowing what to invest in based off of those numbers and your numbers. Great. But here we are. I think the reason why it is 1010, okay, I need to not say I think. The reason why it is because we are obsessed with numbers as a being. It's a hidden in plain sight language. And because numbers are hidden in plain sight, and it is a language, and we resonate so much with numbers, it's so easy to get obsessed with other numbers, thinking, oh, this is why, this is why. And like, I was very much a why person. So whenever I go on to meditate, I always want to know why. And sometimes they're like, stop asking why. Like, chill out. You're just driving yourself crazy. And sometimes there are answers. And having the discernment of when is the time to ask why, and the other times whenever you already know the why, whenever you already comprehend the why. Oh my gosh, I am sweating, excuse me, so much. Oh yeah. And so, oh, pardon me. And so it's easy to become obsessed with these numbers whenever we have such a great connection to numbers. We're just obsessed with the wrong numbers. And if you really wanted to, if you really wanted to go wild with it, you could start measuring each thing in your house and getting the measurements in inches or centimeters even, and then start using those numbers. But then your life has become consumed with numbers. Even now, sometimes even knowing what personal day you're on and what the year is and all of that, it's a lot. A lot of times it's a lot because it's coming from intellect as opposed to the comprehension of the cycle. A huge thing that taught me the essences of numbers wasn't even just the words, it was living the experience of it each time, knowing that I was in a 9 day or an 8 day or a 7 day, a 6, 5, 4. Knowing whenever I was moving into certain cycles, knowing when I was supposed to be focusing more on myself and knowing when I was supposed to focus on others. But even in something that's so helpful, it can become something eventually of a crutch. Using intellect to understand what's going on, doing the numbers and like, well, this, and this, and this. Well, that's good that you know it. Now apply it. Applying it is much harder. Even if you know, oh, this is my day of spirituality. Oh, this is my day of relaxation. Then why are you working on your day of relaxation? Or why is this why are you not traveling on your day of relaxation? What things are hindering you from your flow, from your path, from your season, from your specific homeostasis? I don't know. I can't answer that for you. I literally can't answer that for you. Yourself knows the answer. Ooh, yourself knows the answer. And oh, where'd you go? That rose petal stood straight up and down. That was lovely. Finding new ways to express your story are going to be so freeing and not even for you. Okay, who was it? I don't know who said it, but it was, gosh. Anyway, sometimes we're so busy asking why, like, why me? Why did this happen to me? And I say, why not me? Why not me to understand the ins and outs of all the trauma specifically that I did? Because I'm going to do something about it. I'm going to make a fucking difference. So they chose right. Mm-hmm. Because I'm going to help heal the world of this shit. It doesn't matter if you believe it or not. I know what I'm doing. I know what I can do. Being high vibes and still having an ego, sometimes it's the lack of believing that you have an ego is the biggest issue. Even then, people will have reactions. Even in that moment when I said, I'm going to do it, you had a reaction in you. Maybe, she got it like that. She knows what's up. She knows what she got. Maybe a little bit of like, all right, chill out. You know? Pay attention to that. Pay attention to how you react to people. Sometimes the reason why, the quote that I wanted to say, quote-ish area, generally. Sometimes the reason why has nothing to do with you. Sometimes people are just meant to see you get through it. To see that they can get through it. To see that people can survive certain things. That's why we hear the stories of people who have, like, there's like a show that a lot of us watch, like I Survived, or true crime and all that stuff. And it becomes like this addiction. It becomes this whole thing of like, oh, let's talk about the horrific things that have happened in my life so then I can let people learn from me. That just isn't your story. I mean, horrific things have happened, yes. But the thing that happened most is that you were victorious, that you survived, that you're out. Even if your body doesn't know that you're out, even if your mind doesn't remember that you're out, and you still fall into this anxious moments where you feel so broken and so terrified. You wonder, why did I pick this life? Why did I do that? Why did I choose how to play hard mode? Why can't I do it just on easy mode? I see so-and-so did on easy mode. You were dealt a good hand. You didn't know the rules. You're figuring out the rules now. And that's good. You're figuring out the rules now. Let's go on. There is rabbit around you. 8:58, by the way. And earlier, whenever I was trying to set up my phone, it was at 8:38. Yeah, that makes sense. I was trying to set up my phone on my camera, and whenever I was starting to record, and it just exited out of the camera all of a sudden at 8:38, and now it's 8:58 whenever the thing went off. I mean, it's on a screen timer. I think it's like 10 minutes or so. Anyway, the 8:38 is about a beginning in a new career, new social circles, But more than anything, new energy exchange and alignment. Karmically, it's there. Um, and it's just destined, so you don't really have to do much about it. It just is there. You were standing right in front of the portal. You were about to step into it. You know that. You feel it. It's just about, you see the doors over there. You still got to walk to the door. You still got to drive to the door. You still, like, the door's still far away. Like, not far away. It's close because you can see it. But you still got to walk to it and lift up your hand and open it and stuff. It might be one of those automatic doors. But you have rabbit around you. You have rabbit around you. And it is because rabbit is fearful. And you may feel a little scared during these times. Because honestly, especially if you look at any type of news, are you on the news still? Are you still hitting up that news? If you're still watching the news and then all your other vices are still terrorizing you too, that might be why. You might be a news head. It's the same as watching the true crime stuff. That's all stuff that tends to be something that is a dopamine kick or whatever, or something along those lines. But it also gives us fuel for fire. It gives us fuel to be like, oh, well, this is that, and this is this, and this is that. And this is how you shape your reality. So whenever you practice sobriety from news and honestly having conversations with people about politics, I know that it's important to talk about politics in a lot of ways. Okay? The big issue is that it's just like very low vibration. Like, I don't know the whole story. I don't know who the bad guy actually is. I don't know who the good guy actually is. I don't know. I'm just being told stuff by other people all the time. And a big thing that a lot of my ex friends don't like about me is that I will be devil's advocate. I want to know the full story because, quite honestly, people are always asking me to judge. They want me to choose their side. And they just don't like whenever I don't immediately choose their side. I'm not going to cast my judgment unless I know both sides, defendant and, what is it, prosecution? Defense and prosecution. That's what I will do. Justice is in my nature. And so when people come to me, there's a reason why they feel it. They want to know who's right. But I'm going to tell you, most likely, y'all are both wrong and y'all are both right. And you won't want to hear that. Because that's how it is. And that's why they are ex-friends. Because, like, that was not the vibe. Like, you immediately called me critical just because I was like, hey, maybe you should not be putting yourself in those environments. Maybe you should not be having to deal with these people that you're having a fight with all the time. Maybe you should just, like, focus on yourself. And they'll be like, you're judgmental. I'll be like, hey, somebody got to be the judge. You've been casting a lot of judgment. Of course, directed at yourself. Like fear of being seen, fear of being misunderstood, because that happens all the time. That's a big one for you. You're really scared of people taking your words wrong. I don't know why I'm laughing about it. It's not funny. It's a trauma. The people who are going to misunderstand you are going to misunderstand you. The people who care to understand you will ask questions. This is what it is. Some people are just so caught up in their own stuff that they don't want to know. They don't want to know. They're honestly probably still digesting the news. They're probably still digesting the news and are so worked up and so on edge, and here you come vibrating high, ringing their ears, and you're just like, what is, ugh. It's so funny. I'll go up to people and their ears will be ringing, and they'll have like a little, just a tiny thing. And I notice, of course, it's a lot of military people. In the military, there's lots of things that could give you tinnitus. There's a lot of poom. That's not what it is, but there's sometimes. I mean, I wasn't in the military, but I've heard stories. But there's a lot of booms. There's a lot of explosions. There's a lot of pows. There's a lot of onomatopoeias making noise, and so that can cause a lot of tinnitus, which is essentially ringing in the ears. Other things that could cause tinnitus are bad neck, shoulder, like this posture, vagus nerve type things. So there's lots of things that could cause ear ringing. But what I'll notice is that this has happened with probably, I'll just say, I think, what was it? What are the number of people that are, there's like 12 people emailing me now. I'll say at least 12 people. That whenever their ear starts to ring, I'll say, oh, you're a minor prophet. And they immediately go, oh, and it gets louder. And they aren't able to hear me say it. And so I'll say again, like a baby. And so I'll say again, to make sure they hear me, you are a minor prophet. Because I don't say it to everybody who has tinnitus. I know a lot of people with tinnitus. Only certain people. Now, look, just because you're a minor prophet don't mean nothing. You can still be a bad guy. You can still be, like, rude. You can still smoke and drink and party and all those things. Like, honestly, you most likely will. There's a lot of stress that comes with being a prophet. There's a lot of not saying things that you want to say, or not even what you want to say. The natural plight of a prophet will be to not speak, to be misunderstood, to be misunderstood so often that your spirit breaks and you don't say anything anymore. That's the devil. And the devil's a liar. Okay? The devil be lying. You know that the devil lies? You can't spell devil without lie. Lied. You lived a lie. Devil. Okay? So quit living a lie. Quit being the devil to yourself. Back in the day. But now they're just buttons. They just buttoned up. So I could crinkle it like. Every day is so wonderful, and suddenly it's hard to breathe. Now and then I get insecure from all the pain. I'm so ashamed. I am beautiful, no matter what they say, and words can bring me down. There's a lot of like slight changes in the verses, so I don't know when and where and why and how, because I used to listen to it all the time as a little girl. I would have a karaoke machine, and my mom bought me a karaoke machine for one of my birthdays. And I would sit in front of the little screen and speaker, and I would sing that song again and again. And recently I sang that song again just as my own little inner child work and go back to that. And even now I get a little choked up thinking about it. But that little girl in her room was healing herself, singing such kind words to herself, singing affirmations to herself, even if she didn't realize it, even if I don't remember realizing it. Sometimes we look back on ourselves and we realize how much more in tune we were, how much more relaxed we were because we knew less. It's like almost the more you know how fucked up your situation was, the more you victimize yourself. Not victimize yourself, but the more you identify with that victimhood. I was asking my friend the other day, what's so bad about the word victim? A lot of people say, I don't want to be a victim. I don't want to be a victim. And it's almost like society has been like, the most disgusting thing you can be is a victim. Yeah. That's kind of fucked up, don't you think? One of the worst things in their whole life has happened to them, and yet you are over here screaming, I don't want to be like you. That's somebody's baby. And you're so afraid of being like them. That must not feel very good. It must be so hard not wanting to be like you. Not wanting to be like yourself. Not wanting to understand and comprehend why exactly you were put in such a position. Not of pain, but of power. The ancient wisdom that you have been granted despite the pain that you've been through. Because people still suffer, people still have that pain, people still have all those terrible things happen to them, but they don't get the gift of wisdom with it. Even if it's just a drop, you have made it spread. I think there's something about gold that just the smallest amount of gold can be spread out into the thinnest sheets. You were given gold, and you have pounded it out into decorative gold. You're sprinkling it all over the place. You've got gold dust. You see me mashing through your airwaves? I know you can't get enough of this sound. It's like gold dust. You hear me coming through your speakers. Oh, you didn't see him. I have all these now. All these rose petals. All broken down. Tiny rose petals. I could probably make a tiny little rose out of these tiny roses. I could probably make a tiny little bouquet out of these rose petals. Ooh, it reminds me of somebody who paints with rose petals. A very, very dear friend of mine. I don't know if they ever watched these, but they're all the way in South Dakota. And the Dakotas, all my national friends, 1144 as I say that. I like to consider y'all some of my national friends as well and international as well. So anyway, that's it. There's nothing else coming up, and it feels different every time. I know when it's not me. I know when I'm done, essentially. Like, whenever you're pooping and like you're just like, I'm sorry guys, you know what I mean. Anyway, in the meantime, lovies, y'all keep a lookout for the numbers, okay? And y'all stay synchronized.